The old house stood baking under the Dakar sun. Its walls crumbled inside. Its windows, empty sockets, stared out at the relentless blue. The locals called it the Whispering House because it seemed to murmur stories of a bygone era, tales of a time when men with steely eyes and calloused hands built it to withstand the test of time. It was supposed to be eternal, but now it stood weathered and worn, a skeleton of its former self. A small crew of demolition workers, their bodies sweat-soaked and backs bent, swung their sledgehammers in a monotonous rhythm. They just wanted the job done so they could move on to the next one. The foreman, Karim, urged his men forward with grunts and gestures. He, too, wanted this place erased from existence. Or at least, he thought he did. It didn't take long. Within a few days, the house had become a rubble-strewn yard, nothing but a memory. And yet, Karim couldn't shake off the strange feeling the place gave him. It was as if the house itself was watching them, waiting for something. But what? He shrugged off the unease and sent his men home. But the next day he returned to find them demolishing more than they had the day before. One of the hammers struck something hollow, not a cellar, not a typical foundation. The workers gasped as they uncovered a trapdoor concealed beneath the debris. Hidden beneath the house, untouched by the sands of time, was a narrow passage leading deep below the ground. Curiosity got the better of Karim. He descended into the dark hole, the musty air growing heavy and damp around him. The passage opened into a vast cavern, the ceiling lost in the gloom above. Strange symbols covered the rock walls, markings that were not of any local tribe. They were ancient, older than the oldest ruins in the region. A chill moved through the air, raising goosebumps on Karim's arms. He felt a sudden urge to flee, but his feet seemed rooted to the spot. At the cave's deepest point, they found a sealed chamber. The only light emanating from the cracks in the stonework, it pulsed with a quiet dread. One of the workers, Musa, reached out, his fingers tracing the strange lines etched into the surface. A faint hum vibrated through the stone, sending a shiver down his spine. This was a place meant to stay hidden, undisturbed, but as if sensing their intrusion, the sealed chamber trembled. The tremors grew, shaking the very foundations of the cave. And then the chamber began to crack. A dark, formless presence seeped into the air. It was not a physical being, but an oppressive force that seemed to suck the warmth from their bones. Musa cried out, falling to his knees as a wave of dizziness overcame him. That night, Musa lay burning with fever, his dreams plagued by images of the whispering walls. When he awoke, his body ached, and a nameless dread filled his heart. Paranoia gripped the crew. They argued amongst themselves, their voices echoing in the vast space. The Dakar heat outside turned blistering, and the sky took on unnatural hues, as if the world itself was in turmoil. Sounds echoed in the nights, and the ground rumbled with unseen energy. It was as if the entity, freed from its subterranean prison, was stirring, growing stronger with each passing moment. The once tight-knit group of workers began to unravel, their bonds of camaraderie severed by the whispers of madness. Each man was lost in his own personal hell, tormented by visions and fears. Then one day, as Karim descended into the cave, he saw the truth. Etched onto the walls were warnings of an ancient power, a power that should have remained dormant, undisturbed by mortal hands. The entity they disturbed was not bound to any physical form. It fed on human emotion, growing stronger with each passing moment. Outside, the sky burned with an angry red, the heat becoming unbearable. The earth cracked and heaved as if in pain. Storms of unnatural force swept across the city, tearing down trees and buildings. The world outside was breaking down, mirroring the chaos that was taking hold within the cave. Karim understood with a jolt. They had unleashed a global end. It was too late to seal it back. Their meddling had unleashed forces beyond their control. The entity, sensing its freedom, surged with power. It was no longer bound to the cave. It was everywhere and nowhere. It was the end, and it had only just begun. As the last remaining worker fled the crumbling cave, he looked back at the gaping hole that had been made. Humanity was insignificant. Their lives, their hopes and dreams, all were meaningless in the face of the ancient evil they had unleashed. The sky blazed with otherworldly flames, and the world outside was consumed by darkness. There was no hope, only the promise of oblivion.